Her name was Hatshepsut.
For many years, one of the most puzzling mysteries in the world of ancient Egypt surrounded a single mummy lying quietly inside the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. The mummy, labeled KV-60A, belonged to a woman, but no one knew her name or her true identity. Her tomb was discovered long ago in the Valley of the Kings by British archaeologist Howard Carter, the same man who later found the tomb of King Tutankhamun. Inside this small tomb were two female bodies, but records at the time were incomplete, and interest faded quickly. One of the mummies was taken to the museum, while the other was left behind in the tomb. For decades, nobody paid special attention to them. Archaeologists only believed that the woman might be someone important, perhaps even royal, because people high rank were usually buried in the Valley of the Kings. However, nothing inside the tomb clearly identified who she was. Her life, her story, and her name seemed lost forever. It was not until the early 2000s that modern technology gave scientists new tools to look deeper into the past. Egyptian archaeologist Dr. Zehawis led a team determined to solve the mystery. Their hope was to identify missing members of Egypt's royal family, including one ruler who had been erased from history, Queen Hatshepsut. Her tomb had been found long ago, but her mummy had never been identified. The only known artifact connected to her was a small wooden box containing a single tooth. Scientists had no idea that this tiny object would unlock the entire mystery. When they performed CT scans on the unknown mummy, they saw something unusual, a missing upper molar. When they compared it with a tooth found in the box marked with Hatshepsut's name, it matched perfectly. This moment changed history. The unknown woman was no longer a mystery. She was Queen Hatshepsut, the most powerful female pharaoh of ancient Egypt. After identifying the mummy as Queen Hatshepsut, scientists began a deeper examination of her body using CT scans and DNA tests. These studies revealed a great deal about her health, her appearance, and her final years. The scans showed that Hatshepsut was overweight, suffered from severe dental problems, and had painful joint conditions, including arthritis. One of the most significant findings was evidence of bone cancer. Researchers believe that this illness may have spread throughout her body, causing her death at around the age of 50. Another surprising discovery was connected to an ancient skin cream. Scientists found traces of a substance called benzopyrene, a dangerous chemical that can cause cancer. It is believed that Hatshepsut used a special cream or ointment to treat a skin condition, possibly eczema. Unfortunately, the cream may have contained this harmful chemical, which slowly poisoned her body over time. DNA testing also helped confirm her royal lineage. The genetic samples matched those of Thutmose I, believed to be her father, and her mother Ahmose. This confirmed that she belonged to a powerful line of rulers. The tests also showed that members of the royal family married close relatives, which was a common practice meant to protect royal bloodlines. However, this also increased the chance of genetic diseases. Hatshepsut's DNA revealed certain inherited weaknesses that might have affected her health. The new scientific information gave historians a more complete picture of her life, showing that even a powerful queen faced physical struggles. While her body grew weaker, she continued ruling Egypt with strength and determination. Her story shows the contrast between her powerful public image and her quiet personal suffering. These discoveries changed how historians understood her final years. They revealed that although she was one of Egypt's strongest rulers, she also lived with pain, illness, and hidden challenges that the world would only uncover thousands of years later. Hatshepsut was born during Egypt's 18th dynasty, a time known for great wealth, strong rulers, and major achievements. She was the daughter of Pharaoh Thutmose I and Queen Ahmose, which gave her a strong claim to royal power from birth. Ancient records describe her as intelligent, confident, and well-educated. From a young age, she was trained in religion, politics, and the responsibilities of royalty. Unlike most royal daughters, she did not grow up in the shadows. Instead, she learned how government worked, how priests carried out rituals, and how decisions shaped the kingdom. She also grew up during a time when Egypt was expanding its power, so she saw firsthand how important leadership was. When she was old enough, Hatshepsut married her half-brother Thutmose II, following the tradition of royal families marrying within their bloodline. This marriage strengthened her place in the royal court. Soon after, she became God's wife Ammonius, one of the most important religious titles in Egypt. This title gave her influence over temples and access to great wealth. When Thutmose II died unexpectedly, their son Thutmose III was still too young to rule. Hatshepsut was appointed as regent, meaning she ruled on behalf of the boy king. At first, she acted as a guardian and advisor, but as time passed, she took on more royal responsibilities. She led public ceremonies, ordered building projects, and appeared in artwork wearing royal symbols. Finally, she made a bold decision that no woman had taken before. She declared herself pharaoh of Egypt. This was an extraordinary move because Egypt traditionally believed that only men could rule. But Hatshepsut used her intelligence and religious knowledge to justify her claim. She said the god Ammonius had chosen her to lead Egypt. Many high-ranking officials supported her. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in Egypt's history, where a woman ruled with the full power of a king. Her rise to power was not the result of force or rebellion. It was a result of strategy, intelligence, and strong leadership that in ancient Egypt, religion and politics were closely connected. For a pharaoh to rule effectively, people had to believe that the ruler was chosen by the gods. Hatshepsut understood this better than anyone. To strengthen her position, she used a powerful religious story, the tale of her divine birth. According to temple carvings, the god Ammonius came to her mother disguised as her father. He told Queen Ahmose that the child she would bear was destined to rule Egypt. This story made Hatshepsut more than a queen or a royal daughter. It made her a child of the gods. In a society where religion shaped every part of life, this narrative gave her enormous authority. Challenging her would be equal to challenging the gods themselves. Hatshepsut displayed this story in her famous mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, where scenes of her divine conception were carved into stone. People visiting the temple would see clear proof that the gods supported her rule. While modern readers may view the story as symbolic, in ancient Egypt it was a serious political tool. It helped silence critics who argued that a woman should not be pharaoh. It also won support from priests, especially those of the god Ammonius. Her close relationship with the temples allowed her to gain loyalty and build a strong political base. Hatshepsut also adopted male symbols of power. She wore the royal kilt, the crown, and even the false beard that kings traditionally wore. But she never hid her true identity. Inscriptions still refer to her as a woman. This created a balance between tradition and reality. She showed people that she could be both a woman and a king. By combining religion, symbolism, and political wisdom, Hatshepsut created a role for herself that had never existed before. Her divine birth story was not just mythology. It was a masterful strategy that allowed her to rule Egypt with confidence and legitimacy for many years. Once Hatshepsut secured her position as pharaoh, Egypt entered a period of remarkable peace and prosperity. Unlike many rulers before her, she did not focus on war or conquest. Instead, she dedicated her reign to strengthening Egypt from within. One of her most famous achievements was a grand expedition to the land of Punt, a mysterious region located somewhere near the Horn of Africa. This journey was one of the earliest recorded trade missions in history. Her ships sailed down the Red Sea, carrying goods to exchange with the people of Punt. The expedition returned with gold, ivory, ebony, exotic animals, incense, and even live myrrh trees. These treasures boosted Egypt's economy and provided materials for religious ceremonies. The scenes of this expedition were carved on the walls of her temple, showing the admiration her people had for her leadership. Hatshepsut also became one of the greatest builders in Egyptian history. She restored old temples, constructed new ones, and ordered the building of many monuments. Her greatest creation was her mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari, considered one of the architectural masterpieces of the ancient world. Built into a cliff with large terraces and rows of pillars, the temple became a symbol of her power and divine connection. Under her rule, agriculture grew, trade expanded, and the country experienced long-lasting stability. The priesthood of Ammonius gained more influence as they worked closely with her. Most importantly, the daily lives of ordinary Egyptians improved because of the economic strength and peace she created. Despite her great success, not everyone supported her rule. Some members of the royal court believed the throne should always belong to a man. Others worried that her long rule would prevent Thutmose III from taking his rightful place. Still, Hatshepsut kept control through intelligence, diplomacy, and strong administration. Her nearly 20-year reign is remembered as one of Egypt's most successful and peaceful eras, proving that leadership comes from wisdom, not gender. Toward the end of her reign, Hatshepsut's health began to decline. The CT scans performed on her mummy thousands of years later revealed the struggles she faced during her final years. She suffered from obesity, diabetes, and poor circulation. Her bones showed signs of arthritis and degeneration, meaning she likely lived with constant pain. Her teeth were in poor condition, and infections may have spread through her body. The biggest discovery, however, was bone cancer, which had probably advanced in her later years. This cancer may have been connected to the skin cream she regularly used. Although she continued performing her royal duties, it became harder for her to maintain the strong image she had built over the years. Despite her physical suffering, historical records show that she stayed active in managing the kingdom. She continued to oversee building projects and religious ceremonies until her health worsened. By the time she died, she had ruled for nearly 2 decades and left behind a legacy of peace, beauty, and success. But after her death, the political situation changed quickly. Thutmose III, now an adult, took full control of Egypt. Soon after, a strange and troubling event occurred. Many of Hatshepsut's monuments were damaged, and her name was removed from records. Statues of her were smashed, and images of her were carved out of temple walls. For many years, historians believed this was an act of revenge. But recent studies suggest it may have been done for political reasons. Thutmose III wanted to protect the idea that only men should rule Egypt and feared that Hatshepsut's successful reign might encourage others to break tradition by erasing her name. Later rulers could pretend her reign had never happened. This attempt to remove her from history nearly succeeded. For thousands of years, she was forgotten until modern science rediscovered her story. The discovery of Hatshepsut's identity through DNA and CT scans marked one of the greatest breakthroughs in Egyptian archaeology. For centuries, her story had been hidden under sand, damaged monuments, and erased records. But science finally returned her name to history. The tooth found in the wooden box became the key that unlocked everything. It connected the forgotten mummy in the museum to one of the greatest rulers in ancient Egypt. Because of this discovery, historians can now understand her life with clarity and respect. Today, Hatshepsut is celebrated not only as a female pharaoh, but as one of the most capable leaders Egypt ever had. Her achievements in trade, architecture, and diplomacy prove that power does not depend on gender. Her reign showed how peace and development can be more powerful than war. She built monuments that still stand today, including her magnificent temple at Deir el-Bahari, which attracts visitors from around the world. Her story also teaches an important lesson about history. Even powerful rulers can be forgotten if those who come after them try to erase their memory. But truth has a way of returning. Modern technology allowed scientists to hear the silent voice of a queen who lived more than 3,000 years ago. The DNA tests also revealed the challenges she faced: health problems, inherited conditions, and a painful final illness. These discoveries remind us that behind the grand statues and royal crowns were real human beings with struggles and emotions. Hatshepsut's life is a powerful mix of triumph and tragedy. She rose above tradition, ruled with wisdom, and built a legacy of prosperity. Yet she suffered illnesses and was nearly erased from history. Today, her name stands proudly among the great pharaohs of Egypt. Thanks to science, her story will never be forgotten again as scientists continued studying the DNA of Queen Hatshepsut. They realized that the deeper they went, the more unusual details appeared. At first, the goal was simply to understand her health and family background. But when the team compared her DNA with samples taken from other members of her royal family, they began noticing strange patterns. Some sequences were missing, and some were repeated in ways that did not match anything found in other Egyptian mummies. This raised several new questions. Was Hatshepsut suffering from a genetic condition that historians never knew about? Or did ancient Egyptians practice certain royal traditions that influenced her DNA in a deeper way than expected? What truly shocked the team was how certain features in her DNA suggested that she may have lived with rare illnesses that could explain many mysteries about her life, such as her sudden weight gain, her possible breathing problems, and even her unexpected death. These clues pushed the scientists to dig deeper, as every new detail made them feel they were getting closer to uncovering something that history had hidden for more than 3,000 years. One discovery that stood out was the presence of unusual markers connected to strong medication. This was surprising because ancient Egypt did not have modern medicine. Yet, the DNA showed signs that Hatshepsut's body had been exposed to heavy oils, perfumes, and balms with strong chemical effects. When researchers compared these markers to residue found in the jar believed to contain her embalming fluid, they noticed something alarming. The mixture she used daily as a cosmetic or a skin treatment might have actually been toxic. In other words, what she believed was a healing cream may have slowly poisoned her over the years. As a powerful queen who loved perfume and beauty rituals, Hatshepsut often used special lotions made from rare plants, resins, and oils. But some of these ingredients, like benzopyrene found in incense, are now known to be dangerous. Scientists were stunned to find evidence that long-term exposure might have caused cancer-like symptoms. This discovery changed the way historians viewed her final years. Instead of dying suddenly or from natural age,